An astronomy question we may have thought of. What would happen if our moon were twice as close to our Earth? In the 2003 Jim Carrey movie Bruce Almighty, Carrey's character suddenly acquires godlike powers and uses those powers to lasso the full moon, pulling closer to Earth to woo his beloved. And later in the movie, background shots show TV news reports about massive, unprecedented flooding around the world because of that. While the film is obviously fantastical, it does raise a question. What would happen if our moon were twice as close to our Earth than it is today? In fact, the flooding scenario from the movie is not far from what might actually happen if the moon were suddenly closer to our Earth. This is what Neil Coleman explains. He's a physicist at the University of Maine. The best known effect of the moon is its gravitational pull on Earth's oceans, which results in 2 high tides and 2 low tides every day. We have moon affecting the water, but it also affects the Earth, causing, of course, changes in the tectonic and plates and the fault lines. It's not just water that it causes gravitational pull on. Now, if the moon were half the distance from Earth as it is now, the tides would be 8 times higher, Common said. Some islands would be completely underwater for much of the day, and populated coastlines would likely become uninhabitable because of the high tides. And I would venture to say this would also go concerning the Earth. Now, but higher ocean, meaning the pull on the gravitational effects on the Earth and more earthquakes. Now, higher ocean tides would not be the only result of a closer moon. The moon also has a tidal effect on the Earth's land. Cummins explains that if the moon were suddenly twice as close to Earth, the effect would be like hitting a gong with a mallet, Commons says. Waves of energy would reverberate through the planet due to the sudden increased strength of the moon's gravitational pull on the Earth. And that sudden whack of gravity, he said, would actually impact the Earth's crust, which means it might trigger more earthquakes, might trigger more volcanic eruptions, explains Jasmine Scarlett, historical and social volcanologist at the Queen Mary University of London in the UK. Take, for example, Jupiter's moon Io, the most volcanically active world in the solar system, Scarlett said. Io's volcanism results from the push and pull from the gravity of Jupiter and 2 of its other moons. Earth might see a similar fate if the moon were suddenly half as close. Along with all the sudden buckling on the planet's crust, you could imagine, Earth's spin would slow over time. This is because as the moon's gravity pulls the oceans, the resulting friction between the ocean floor and water slows Earth's spin. Today, Earth's rotation is slowed by about 1,000th of a second per century, Commons explains. If the moon were half the distance away, Earth's rotation would slow even more, dragging out our days and nights. If we were to survive the sudden earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, lengthening of days and nights, and higher tides, at least we'd get to see some more frequent solar eclipses, because the moon would cover a larger area of the sky. It would be more like a pass in front of the sun from our perspective. Coleman said we would still be able to see the sun's corona, the outer atmosphere, shining through the dark silhouette of the moon, but not as clearly, he said. Otherwise, the moon and its phases would look just about the same, only bigger in the sky. And what if the moon were to slowly spiral towards Earth rather than just moving suddenly? The planet's crust and tides would shift more gradually, hopefully letting life adjust, Scarlett said. The longer days and nights could change our climate and drive evolutionary changes in multiple ways, Scarlett said. Animals would have to adapt to a brighter moon at night. For example, prey might have to learn how to hide better at night, as predators might have more light when hunting in order to find them, the little critters. Now, while a superpower bestowing Morgan Freeman will not be the cause of Earth-Moon shakeup, could anything natural cause the moon to drift closer to our Earth? This is wild speculation, of course, but Commons decided on an answer. He says, if a sufficiently massive object passed close to our Earth-Moon system, and the moon was in the right place of its orbit as this thing went by, this thing could potentially take energy from the moon, and that would cause it to spiral in closer to our Earth, comments said. So it would take a massive asteroid whizzing by Earth in the exact right place at the exact right time to possibly push the moon towards us like a ball, circling a drain. Of course, even if that did happen, it would still take many, many years for the moon to get half the distance away as it is now, so Earth would not feel the effects right away, he said. This is by Joanna Wendell on Live Science. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. So the spoiler alert here says what would happen if the moon were twice as close to the Earth? Total chaos, of course. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.